Well, we've had this final regular season game against the Clippers circled for feels like over a month. I think everyone was anticipating, like, hey, probably going to come down to this final game here Sunday against a team that has owned the Warriors over the last several seasons, just stylistically. Styles make fights. Ty Lue, Jeff Van Gundy, their defensive scheme on Steph. Before we talk about the keys to this matchup, let's go over what happened last night a little bit here. This Blazers team comes in and they've packed up all their core pieces. They've got, the end of their roster playing, along with Kamara. Kamara is definitely a part of their future. But I don't know about you. I can't remember the last time I just wanted a game to be over with. You're like, just get through this game. No one get hurt. Like, let's just get over this game. And I think it reflected on the Warriors as well. I think they felt that way as well. And you had this Blazers team with Kamara, Thibault, and a bunch of guys who it's like when you go to play pickup, there's always the one guy no one wants to match up with. Not that they're like super skilled or the best player. You just didn't want to deal with their energy and how hard they played and how physical they were. It was a team full of those guys last night for the Blazers. And so we come out sloppy, turn the ball over, miss a bunch of threes. But the thing was, Portland literally didn't have one offensive player playing for them last night. Like, they're all like scrappy role player defender guys, and so they couldn't score enough either. Steph jams the right shooting thumb on the knee of Kamara or somebody late in that first quarter. And we all, whenever there's something that appears to be wrong with Steph, we all take hold our breath. But what spooked me, there were two things that spooked me. He goes to the bench and he hangs the arm down between his legs. And just being an old head athlete and being around the game for so long, there's the shake the hand out, like where you're like, like that, you're like that. When you tuck the arm, it usually means that's a next level of pain. So he goes to the locker room. Dub Nation, we're like, really, this is how the season's going to end? This is how the season's going to end? And you know me, I'm always reaching with details and trying to read the psychology of the game and all that. And I'm watching the bench and the players as Steph stays in the locker room. And I'm like, do they already know? Because you can get an x-ray back really quick, especially like with that level of attention from these athletes. And I'm like, have they already been told like it's a broken hand or broken thumb? Like, because they looked kind of like zombies out there. They looked kind of depressed. There was no energy. And I'm like, man, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. 8-minute mark of the second quarter, Steph comes back with the thumb taped. And, being a fan of sports for, 30 plus years of watching sports, one thing that I've learned is the greats, when they're hurt, they're even more dangerous. A lot of the time they play even better. Not injured, hurt. So if Steph's just hurt, if he's chipped up, there's a real possibility he plays even better. Injury is one thing, but if you're hurt, the greats, they're even more dangerous. But we get through this Blazers team. We have eventually, Buddy, I've mentioned this before, when Steph's not available for whatever reason, he shoots the ball better, and it's a good balance for us. In his second game in a row with 4 3-pointers made, he eclipsed the 200 made mark on the season. GP2 and Quentin Post returned last night in Portland. I thought that was super important because you want them to break a sweat and get some run before what is a playoff game tomorrow, right? You don't want that to be your first game back. Just get your breath, get out on the court again. GP2 is out there doing what he does. You know what I'm saying? Just smacking people with screens, playing the passing lanes. And then Quentin Post, that Dutch diarrhea, he was bouncing around, right? Like he was light on his feet, and immediately you see the spacing effect. But defensively, there was a sequence late in the game where we were up 20. It didn't really matter. Draymond was kind of just out there. And Quentin took over in the Draymond role. He rotated out to the corner. He got back. He called out switches, and then he pinned Klingon under the rim Looney style. And I say all that to say he's got to be a big factor in this Clippers matchup. You know, you've seen in his absence these last two games, especially the non-Steph minutes, what it does to our offense. And I understand foul trouble can be an issue with him. Putting him in pick and rolls, you know, it can be spooky. But it's not like Harden's going to blow by anybody at this point. Quentin moves his feet better than anticipated at this point, and he's smart. He's smart with it. And so with the Zubac matchup, you know, yeah, he's going to get put in the basket a couple of times. Zoo can go over either shoulder. He's heavy. He's got great footwork. I understand that. But to pull him out of the paint offensively using Quentin Post is going to be huge. And again, defensively, he's getting better and better. And so this is one of those matchups. I know I sat here the other day and said, hey, you know, the Spurs matchup, I didn't have a problem with Kerr's rotation. This matchup, you cannot go small. You cannot go small. We've seen that's really, to me, been the biggest issue. Outside of how they've guarded Steph Curry, it's been Zubac. And you're going to have to put a big body on him, whether it's Quentin, Trace. Obviously, Draymond can hold up on anybody. But on top of staying big for Zubac, you can't overreact to him as well. And that's what I've seen in the past where that Harden-Zubac pick and roll, or when he gets the ball on the block, we send three. Because we're so small, we overcompensate. It's been, you know, the same story for 5 years now. So stay big so you don't have to overcompensate in the Zubac matchup. The other important thing that happened last night in that second half up in Portland, it looks like playoff Jimmy is revving the engines. It was clear, like, you didn't want to bring Steph back once we got up 20 midway through that third quarter. And I thought Fitz had it right on the call. Like, hey, Jimmy understands we can't bring Steph back in this game. You got all these reckless young guys flying around. I was nervous until the final whistle, honestly, for the entire roster. But Jimmy took over late third and early fourth quarter. And it was different in the sense of he was looking for his. He was looking for his much more than we've seen. We've all been asking for it. What did he have? Like 24 points, 7 assists, 5 boards. And he was getting downhill and looking to finish to go along with the playmaking. And we go to this Clippers matchup. How they guard Steph. They're going to top lock. They're going to scheme. And, you know, Chris Dunn, Derek Jones Jr., they've got multiple guys to throw at Steph. And Lou has, you know, a blueprint that he's been using since those finals matchups. And so I think that it's imperative that we operate through Jimmy more than we typically do. I know it's, again, end of third, start of fourth is kind of his sweet spot. It might have to be the start of the first two, you know, and that second quarter. He playoff Jimmy, playoff start Sunday. So we need to see Himmy then. And I thought it was a great sign how he finished off the Blazers last night because he knows it's time. He knows it's time. The other thing that I'll bring up is this Moses Moody struggle right now. I think Hoopers, hardcore fans, you knowledgeable fans, understand, okay, he's been allocating much more of his energy and focus on the defensive end because that's what they've asked him to do, especially since Wiggins is gone. And it's been a complete turnaround for him defensively. He's been a lot better, and I want to acknowledge that. But offensively, it's almost like he's offensively depressed. I understand the shooting slump, but now he's turning down shots. And even when he gets downhill, I know he's had a couple emphatic dunks over the last week, but for the most part, he's kind of undecisive downhill. He's not aggressive. He's not trying to, you know, and I know this is going to trigger some people in some conflict because the Kuminga narrative in conversation always does. But let's be honest here. If Kuminga had been over the last 2 weeks or so, during this slump, had been starting in Moses's place and giving us those same minutes, people would be killing him. People would be killing him. And so Moses has kind of got a pass here. Slumps happen. Well, it's time to get out of the slump, or they're going to have to dial back Moses's role right now because we can't have him pass, especially if we're going to operate through Jimmy, right? And the way that offense moves slower and burns more time on the clock, We can't have him turning down shots that are generated. He's got to shoot through the slump and he's got to break out of it. Otherwise, next man up, whether that be Kuminga, Guy Santos, whomever that may be. Maybe we get a double big lineup with Trace out there. I'm not holding my breath with Steve, especially in that spot, but I just want to mention that Moses, they're going to have to dial it back or he's going to have to pick it up one way or another. And it goes without saying, the young players are going to have to be shot ready and making shots in this Clippers matchup. That's all I got for y'all on this one. I will be back tomorrow. What is it, a 12:30 start? I'll be back with a video right after that one because then we'll know, is it play-in? Is it the Lakers? And we could kind of just have a picture of what we're doing next. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.